Well, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I started in law enforcement in 1995. I graduated from Lackawanna County Junior College. My first employment was with the Nesquebec Borough Police Department, which I did a ride-along program in '94 while I was with the academy. Simultaneously then, I was also hired with the Salem Township Police Department and Scott Township Police Department. They were all primarily part-time, and as a single mother, it was kind of hard to juggle all three, but I did it. When the opportunity came forward for me to leave there, and I was hired by the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, and I served there as a narcotics agent. I was assigned to the Wilkes-Barre area. During my time there, I always tried to make myself involved in many of the things that the Attorney General's office offered. Their methamphetamine clan team, their special operations group I was a part of, and towards the end there, the mobile street crimes unit, that was, we went into a certain area to infiltrate for drug trafficking. Also, while I was there, I was the Luzerne County and the Bradford County Drug Task Force Coordinator. So between both of them, there was approximately 300 officers that relied on me every day to make critical decisions for their cases. I prepared hundreds of criminal complaint affidavits, arrest warrants, search warrants. I've been in every aspect of the courtroom, preliminary hearings. I've testified in jury trials, a grand jury. It's just, you know, I have a love of the job. I love being a public servant. I'm currently a school police officer with the Wilkes-Barre Area School District and a part-time police officer at Sugarloaf Township Police Department. I enjoy immensely mentoring the kids. I enjoy when the teachers ask us to be a part of their classroom to talk to the kids. And the reason that I'm running for Magisterial District Judge, I've always admired the courtroom setting. It's something that I have aspired to do since I came on the job in the early 90s. And I've tried to make my career surround that so that I'm a more well-rounded individual to be able to see the community and what they go through. And I've always tried to be fair while upholding the law as a law enforcement officer. And I just believe those qualities are now best served in the judicial arena, that I could, you know, also be involved in the community in a judicial way, even, you know, going into the schools, and, you know, I'll get into more of that later as far as what.
I note that in your kind of announcement that we ran a while back of your candidacy, you talked about wanting to address the opioid issues that our communities and a lot of communities are experiencing. What can a magistrate do along those lines? Obviously, there's criminal cases involved.
Well, there are criminal cases involved.
But, you know, what in that role can you do to address the opioid problem?
Well, to address the opioid problem, it is the magisterial district judge is the first step in the judicial system. I believe that when law enforcement officers bring forth, you know, arrest warrants and search warrants, I am able to understand the documents that they bring before me, and they are crucial documents. One of the things, as I do now on my job, is something that I would also like to do as a magisterial district judge, you know, be involved with the community to, you know, go into the schools, maybe, you know, speak to the children, you know, as I do as a police officer, the dangers of it, making better decisions, One of the things that I experienced back in 1998, I was part of a mock preliminary hearing that District Judge Donna Coombs did down in Bloomsburg. And I thought it was fascinating. She got, the students involved in it, and she brought in an attorney, she brought in a police officer, and, they presented a preliminary hearing to show the students what it's like, to be in that setting, and that's something that, I would love to entertain, even have maybe if the teachers would allow or if they would want to, make it a part of their, curriculum for a day, to have the students maybe make up a case or a scenario so that we could act out so that they could see it. Just be more involved with the community.
We've done some reporting in the last 2 weeks or so on the juvenile justice system and the feeling among some police officers and the DA that enforcement is kind of taken a backseat, and that there needs to be some changes and perhaps more incarceration options. Having worked in the school district as a police officer, what's your take on that?
Well, I'm actually very proud of the things that we do at the Wilkes-Barre Area School District with juveniles. I know we work hand in hand with the district judges in the Wilkes-Barre area that for first-time nonviolent offenders, that they are allowed to, with the consent of the parents in the school district, they're allowed to perform community service in the school.
Questions?
Along those lines, does juvenile cases, do they go before magistrates or do they go straight to the juvenile court?
Well, it depends. If it's a summary violation, harassment, disorderly conduct, they go before the magisterial district judge. Anything above that, simple assault or things of that nature, then it is a juvenile petition.
And would you do anything differently as district judge than your opponent, the incumbent?
Well, I can't really give you an answer on that because I do not know what he does in his courtroom. I can only tell you that, once I was in there, I would have to look at how it was being dealt with, and I could only go from there.
And this particular magisterial district, it's based in Shikshini. What are the other parts of that district?
Oh, it's a very large district. If you'd like me to name all 12, I will.
Okay.
Hollenbach, Cunningham Township, there's Shikshini Borough, Salem Township, Union Township, Hunlock Creek, Huntington, New Columbus, Ross, Fairmont. I believe I'm missing a couple.
School district wise, it's Berwick area and Northwest area?
Yes, yes. It would only cover the junior high school and the Salem Elementary School. The high school is in Columbia County.
Mm-hmm. And where do you live and where did you grow up? Did you grow up in that area?
I was born and raised in Berwick. I attended Berwick Area High School. I spent a lot of time in Salem Township because that's where my friends were located. I currently live in Salem Township.
Are you cross-filed to run in both primaries?
Yes, I am.
What's your party registration?
I'm a registered Republican.
Have you done any fundraising, or what's the status of your campaign?
No, I haven't done any fundraising. I've had contributions, but I've not held any fundraisers.
Okay. we normally ask this of judicial candidates. Are you accepting contributions from lawyers in your race?
I have not had any lawyers
Okay.
give me any campaign funds.
How would you feel about those kind of contributions? Would you accept them, or considering sometimes lawyers would appear before you if you should win this seat?
Well, to be honest, I believe that I could accept a contribution, but still be, fair and impartial in the courtroom if I would ever, have to be in a courtroom with that said attorney.
And you did run 6 years ago,
I did.
and there were a lot of candidates?
There was 6 individuals in the race.
Yeah,
at that time.
How did you do in that
I did very well for not really ever being in a political, arena. I came in second, just shy of a couple hundred votes. I believed then that, I was a very good candidate, and I still believe that, with the background that I have to offer the community, that, I have the right experience and the knowledge and the leadership skills, to serve as a magisterial district judge for this area.
And another one of the duties that magistrates do, I believe, is truancy issues.
Yes.
Do you have a particular approach on how you would deal with that?
That's a good question. I know while I was assigned to Myers High School, I know a district judge would actually hold truancy court within the school. That is also something that I would like to entertain, because the whole point of a child is to go to school. So instead of picking them up, bringing them to the courtroom, I would just go there. That way you have the principals there, you have the homeschool visitor there, and maybe you can find out a little bit more as to why the child does not attend school on a regular basis.
This is probably more important to us than necessarily you, but some magistrates are better than others, district judges are better than others at being accessible and giving us information. Most of them, we have their cell phones and, they'll get back to us and they'll fax us an affidavit on the weekend if we needed it. I mean, would you commit to, being very accessible to us, giving us your cell phone number to be able to get in touch with you?
Yes.
24/7?
Yes.
I think also in your announcement you did talk about having like 24-hour service in that office,
Mm-hmm.
which I assume doesn't happen in most places because they don't have duty.
You do have an on-duty, on-call magistrate.
Right.
What I meant by 24-hour availability, there's emergency PFAs. There's also nighttime search warrants. I know in my career that there was times when it was just easier to get a hold of the magisterial district judge that resided in the area that we had instead of calling out an on-duty. So, I'm in Salem Township, there's, police right there in that area, and that it is something that, I would be willing to do.
Do you think that is an issue in that area, considering that it's kind of far away? You talked about it being a big district. Well, it's kind of a big district and kind of removed from a lot of other parts of the county. Is that an issue for police there as far as having
As far
access?
as policing?
Yeah, well, as far as having to wait for things like warrants or having to drive a long way to arraign someone, depending on who's the duty person.
Well, I haven't been in that arena for a very long time as far as working. I mean, I haven't worked for Salem Township Police Department since 2000. As far as, with the Wilkes-Barre Area School District, I don't deal with on-duty magisterial district judges. In Sugarloaf, you know, that's a completely different area. So I really can't say if there is an issue there or not, because, you know, I haven't been in that courtroom for a very long time.
You mentioned you're doing a lot of door-to-door
Yes.
campaigning. Are you spending any campaign funds on signs, billboards, media advertising?
I was given in-kind contributions for my signs, yes.
Any media advertising?
No, the only media advertising that I have done, other than, you know, Facebook, that I have an administrator that does that, is my announcement for candidacy.
You presumably retired from the AG's office at the state
Yes,
after how many years?
I was there 14 years.
And presumably you're getting a pension.
Yes,
And if you win this seat, what happens to that?
it stops,
It stops until it would stop being magistrate or something like that.
correct.
And I suppose there are some magistrates who continue to work outside the magistrate's office. I will assume, I think maybe Haggard and Kingston
Yeah.
continues to be a lawyer. Would you continue to work as an officer?
No,
No?
no, I would plan to, you know, give 100% dedication to the position.
I don't think in my 20 years here at the paper that I can recall any magistrates ever losing re-election. There have been some that were appointed that lost, so it's a very tough thing to do to beat an incumbent anytime in politics, but magistrates in particular seems very tough to beat. How do you think you're going to accomplish? What's your path to victory?
Oh, my path to victory is just standing on my credentials, standing on my values of integrity. I know it, you know, it is hard to be an incumbent, but it's not impossible.
You said you got in-kind donations for signs. How does that work? Like a sign company stepped up to do your signs?
No, somebody just went and paid for them and
Oh.
then said, here.
Who was that?
Well, you'll see it in my finance campaign records.
Oh, we will. Yeah. Okay. You don't want to tell us though?
Well, I can tell you.
Okay.
Would you like me to tell you his name?
Sure.
Oh, Brian McLaughlin. He's my campaign manager.
Okay. Anybody else have any more?
Just a random question. You said you had children, right?
I do. I have a 34-year-old daughter, and I have an 11-year-old grandson.
What does your daughter do for a living?
My daughter and my son-in-law, they owned a restaurant in Danville. It was Carini's, and they just recently sold it. So, I mean, recently within the month. And they had that business for, I'm gonna say, almost 20 years.
I don't think that should be the last question, so if you have any other ones, but I do have another question then. So of the 17 magistrates there are in Luzerne County, is there any particular one that you'd like to model yourself after if you won?
Oh, there's been, I mean, I've been before magisterial district judges in Columbia, Lackawanna, Bradford, Luzerne. I've been before some in Susquehanna County. There are ones that I've taken a little bit from a lot of them. There really isn't anyone in particular. They are all different in how they run their courtroom. I just know that, you know, if I were to be elected, you know, I would run the courtroom in, you know, an open-minded, fair, impartial way, courteous, and respectful to the individuals that come into the courtroom on all sides.
I believe as a non-attorney, you would have to take some sort of a course.
Yes.
Have you taken that already?
No, I have not. I am scheduled to take it May 31st if I am elected. It's a 4-week course.
Or if you capture one or the other nomination, I guess you're still gonna go for the class.
Correct.
One of the major things you do every day would be setting bail, right? As a magistrate. You know, a lot of places around the country, almost there's no bail or whatever, and then there's places here recently magistrates are not giving anyone bail and like throwing them in jail without bail. What's your position on bail and
Well, my position on bail is there are guidelines that are set forth, and I will follow the guidelines. You know, that's really all I am able to say at this point, is that there are guidelines in place, and, you know, that I would follow them based upon what is presented before me.
Do you have any more?
There has to be more questions.
Well, if you have something we missed, go right ahead.
closing argument?
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to all of you, and it's been a pleasure for you to ask me questions. You know, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to, you know, continue to canvass and knock on doors and, you know, just advise the people the same thing that I'm advising you. That, you know, I just believe that, you know, as a public servant for almost 30 years, that it has given me the ability to understand, you know, the community. And when someone just made a mistake, or someone who is a repeat offender, you know, as a police officer, every call you get, you always have to listen to both sides. You always have to listen with an open mind and make your decision from there. And I just feel that, you know, like I said before, this would be a natural progression into the judicial arena.
Well, thanks.